Do you all see my screen right now? See if someone drops a message on the chat. Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay, then let's start. Hi, everyone. Joshua already introduced me a little bit, but I'm also going to introduce myself. Just for starters, today we're going to be talking about interactive components, which also involves talking a little bit about other features from Figma, like variants and auto layout. So a little bit of myself. I'm Bruno. I'm designer-in-chief at OutSystems. That's what Joshua was trying to say. I'm also a community advocate like him, but at the Friends of Figma group in Portugal. And I've recently been running a project called DIF, Design is for Everyone, that I'm just starting, that I intend to create a community around it with the idea of open design, and all design should be open for everyone. So this is a little bit about myself and what I'm doing currently. I'm also an explorer, if I can put it like that. So I really love using technology, although I'm not a techie to the point where I know how to program. But if you give me a software like Figma, I'm going to find its limits. I'm going to try to break those limits. I'm going to try to do things with whatever skills I own. And that's a little bit why I love talking about interactive components, because it's one of those things that I've actually tried to get into the beta as soon as possible. And since then, I've done as much as I can. And apparently my cat wants to show up. So come here. And here, say hello to everyone, Pichi. No, she just don't want you here. Okay, so what are interactive components? Interactive components, and this is taken right out of Figma's website, allow you to create prototype interactions between variants in a component set. Anytime you add an instance to your designs, those interactions are set up ready to go. This saves you time, and when creating prototypes, prevents unnecessary noodle soup, which is, by the way, one of the main reasons most people wanted to use interactive components was because they were a little bit tired of using a gazillion connections to create their prototypes, and they ended up with that little beautiful image of noodles everywhere, which is still fun. And I got to tell you, there are masterpieces out there of the screenshots of noodles of prototypes to the 20, 30, 50, 100, 200 connections. It's great to just see that, but it's fun to see those things. Okay, what are interactive components good for? So Figma created interactive components as this way to prototype component states, basically, and simplify that process and making it a little bit faster. But in my opinion, you can also do a few other things, and not just the component sets and the basic things. You can also do some pretty complex component interactions with multiple layers and multiple types of animation on top, and also animations by itself. So I do use a lot interactive components just for animation, just for fun, and I'm going to talk a little bit of that today. So how can we build interactive components? Let me show you. That's basically what I'm going to do. First things first, create variants. And here, I'm just going to start and go a little bit through the process of how you can create a really simple but still fun interactive component. So interactive components depend on multiple components that are then stored into a variant, and then in that variant, in that set of variants, you create interactions between all of those elements. Right here, I have 3 states. I have state 1, state 2, and state 3, designed in 3 variants. Some key things are, if you want to have some interactions between elements like smart animations and what's not, make sure that you still name your layers correctly. So this thing here is called button, this thing here is called button, and this thing here is called button. So they're going to act as the same object, changing between them. And then there are some cool stuff that I've done around with how this can work, okay? Then you create the interactions in prototype mode. So if you change the prototype, what you want to do is you want to make sure that these variants actually connect to each other. So I'm going to make something really smooth here, really cool. So I'm going to connect state 1 to state 2. I'm going to put while mouse enters, change to state 2. And I'm going to put it as a smart animation, just because I really want this to look smooth. Then what I want to do is when the mouse leaves, it goes back to the original one. Why don't I want the other animation? Because it's not going to work exactly as this, The mouse in, mouse out works a little bit better for the example that I'm building right here, but you can also use other animations for simple button states. Even more if they are, for example, a button that it's then connected in your file to a different page or it's not. That's okay. This is one of the examples. Then here I'm gonna create a click interaction where the change is there. I'm gonna have a little bit of a custom animation here. With like, what, about a second? Put this here, let me see how it looks. Nah, I need it to be a little bit faster, so let's put it like this. Okay, that's really cool. In case you guys don't know, you can actually always check this out, this animation here, so you can actually see what that animation curve you designed there is going to be. So I really want this to be a smooth one. When you click it, you change here, and then let's just go back to the beginning and put here after some delay. Let's put, I don't know, 1.5 seconds, so really 1500 milliseconds, and let's put this as ease out and really fast, because you don't really need to take that much attention to when it goes back. So that would be it. Okay, I already got a little showcase here, so I can click prototype, and let's see how this goes. By the way, I love this new Figma loader. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but it's really cool. So how it is working right now. So I created an interactive component that it's really simple to use. It already has some really smooth animations, really cool ones, and if you click it, there you go. So I created basically an animation for a confirm button for whatever, but it's just really fast, and you could do this as simple things, but the really cool thing about interactive components is that now I can actually duplicate it, and I don't need to do this as a single prototype with a bunch of noodles, right? So right now I can have, let's put all of these here, okay, go back here, and now all of them are interactive, and I can actually click on all of them, and you can see all of them going back to their original state and what's not. So this is really cool, really fast. It speeds up the process of prototyping, and you can create really fun things with it. So these are the basics. Now we're going to actually build things. And let's go back here. So let's kind of talk about component states. I got an example here, and I'm going to show you. So I created 3 button states. One, which is the normal one that is a hover one, and then I actually created a focus state, because if you guys have ever have to try and design for accessibility, the focus state is really good for example, using your keyboard. It's not the best when it comes to actually, wait, give me a second, my window's gonna need to rescale a little bit. It's not the best when you want to prototype it. Figma is not great at that at this point, but you can still do some small interactions like here, where I'm actually trying to prototype what happens when you click the tab button, and you can see the interaction here. So I created a little showcase. Let's just open it. And there it is. So right now, there's a few layers of animation happening here. You have the motion, you have a drop shadow that it's showcasing. There's the little line there that scales up and down. And if you click on tab, you also get the same animation, but with the focus state. So if you're trying to design or trying to simulate how this button should react to a key input, you can do it really fast. So let's talk about building these and building them correctly. And let's see if we can do something fun with it anyways. So first things first, and let's talk a little bit about auto layout. I'm going to build a core component. What this means is when you're trying to build variants, and if you really want to scale a design system, you probably should have a core component outside of the variants that includes most of the elements. At least I find this a really good practice if you're trying to scale up. This will make it so that all your variants are based on the same element. And if they are instances of the same element, you never have to worry too much about renaming layers or it's not, because they're using all the same elements. So right now, I want to create a simple button. And let's say that this button says, click me, it's fun. So I used the text, and I just created a little text here. Now, instead of actually having to create a frame or it's not, if you go to here and you have auto layout, or if you just click Shift A, you already get a frame that can be your button. I'm gonna add a color to the background. Got this little blue here. And this frame is already starting to look a little bit like a button, but I still don't like the way that it's looking in terms of visual aspect. So I'm gonna adjust a little bit the padding. Make this here with rounded corners on the right top here. Okay, so let's try to make it really fully round. And the cool thing about auto layout is right now, since it's set to hug content, if you change the content here, the button is gonna adjust to that. It's really cool, it's really simple, and it's fun to implement. So right now I got a normal state, let's put it like that, or a core component. Let's call it core component, as it said over there. So core component. But I actually know that I'm gonna have buttons that have other things, like, I don't know, icons or other symbols changing on the side, okay? So this core component should have that information in it. So if I really need an icon on the side, then probably I should have an icon inside the core component. So let me use here feather icons, which is really cool for me to just drop a few icons here to use as an example. Let's put the like one, the heart, probably the check. Yeah, I think these work really well. Just gonna bring these here. Since this font is like 45, I'm gonna also scale them all to 45. Let's see if this works. Okay. And since I want these to be interchangeable icons, just organize these, make them white because that way they look a little bit better. And probably make the line a little bit thicker. There you go. I want these to be icons that I can change there. So let's say that I'm going to call them icon slash their current name. And create multiple components. You can do it over here. It's really fast. So now if I use an instance of this icon there, and then, for example, this icon there, and another thing that you can do on auto layout is you can actually center things. So I'm going to put it centered so that it's all centered. This core component immediately has all the things that I need to build other buttons. They have an icon on the left, an icon on the right. But I also want to do something fun, like the little underline over there. And you can do that by using a hack. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a symbol inside another auto layout that goes for the content. So you can see over here that you have icon on the left, icon on the right. Great. I'm actually going to name them icon, so that when they change, it's a little bit, they have the same layer name and they don't change with whatever we change it to. And then I'm going to add an auto layout to this block here, make it vertical, and reduce the spacing around it because I don't want anything. And let me just use this here. I want to have this little line with the same thickness and style as those, which is this. But if I had it in here right now, I can put as fill container, or I can put it as fixed width. I can decide how it looks. Right now it's like this. I think it feels well. It doesn't really occupy any space because the vertical height is this. So we're basically having a fake underline, which is not going to be on the text, it's going to be on the shape. Now that we've done this, we have our core component. I'm going to make it our core component. And now I'm going to use a copy of this core component to make our very own set of variants. So I want to create a really simple button right now. And I'm going to start by doing that. So this first one, I don't want an icon on the right. I want an icon on the left. And actually, this line shouldn't exist. So let's put it like this. Let's see if I can do it. Can I change it to fixed width? Probably not. Okay, then I already found the problem, which is the line animation here works because these are actually not based on that main component. But I'm going to try it and do my best with it and see what I can do to make things work really well. Sorry. But I don't want the line to be visible, so I'm going to hide the line. I'm going to keep this as the base state of the component. And now I'm going to create a new component around that instance called core component. And now I'm going to call this button normal. Let's put it like that. And again, using a copy of that or just using a copy of the instance that we already have in there. Let me pull it out here. Okay, sorry, not sure what I did. There you go. Having it here, let's say that I want on over for this to be a little bit different. So I can come here to the component, and since everything is just hidden, I can come and put the line there, and it's going to show the line on that animation. And if I really want it to be like the one above, what's going to happen is when I create the component, now this thing can move inside. So this is going to be button cover. So I'm going to move it a little bit to the, let's say, I don't know. Sorry, this is auto layout and it shouldn't. Sorry. Here we go. So I want to move it a little bit to the left, and then I'm going to add a drop shadow that matches that. So let me just use these red colors here. I don't want any blur, and I want the space to be the same. And there you have your hover state. And even if you want to create a clicked state like I did before, you can even do that. So let me just duplicate this one here. Create another component for it. There you go. Instead of being button normal, we can call it button clicked. And let's say that on this version, we want to change the check icon for the thumbs up icon, for example. And we want to do something like, I don't know, let's scratch dates fun and make it so that it's a little bit different. We already created 3 states. We used the same elements and we changed a little bit. We just make some visible, some invisible. You can now select all 3 components, combine as variants, and it should now animate between all of them when we create the prototype. So we go here. As I did before, what I want here is when the mouse enters this state here, I want it to look like this. When the mouse leaves this state here, so mouse leave, I want it to look like the original one. But when the mouse clicks, I want it to change to this here. Let's make this one a little bit more fun. Put it without and back. Let me just check the speed on this one. It's a little bit too fast. Let's make it slower, smoother. And again, like I did on the first example, we can just do a little bit of an after delay, give it a second to go back, and then this can be a little bit faster, which is just going to change things. Now, what happens is with this, we created whatever we want to use here. So let's delete that one from there. Let's add this one. Okay, let's have them both. So that way you can actually check out the differences between them and see these working. But yeah. So this was the original one. This is the new one. Some animations are a little bit different, like the little line there. For that type of animation, probably you can't use a core component. Sorry for that. I thought you could, but sometimes those limitations exist. Here, you can't do it. But you can see how somewhat easy it is to make this type of thing. In here, I only have a regular click. So when you click, it basically goes back to the main state. Here, when you click, it does that change and then eventually goes back. But since the content is the same as the original one, it kind of created a little bug there, but it's working, okay? You can really make interactive components really fast and make them change. So this would be a simple button component, which is a very standard thing that people do with it. Okay, a little bit more complex components. Here, I'm going to showcase a little bit of an example that I did with a card, but it's not just one component. It has actually 2. So it has a main component that is a card, and then it has another component that is the links. The links have an interaction of their own. The card has an interaction of their own. Inside the card, you're going to see a few changes, including a really cool state that I just did with the photo that uses a color overlay that changes from 0 to 100, that changes the image that goes in there. So it's really simple to see. And actually, let me just do another example here on the showcase. I use the Splash plugin to just replace the image over there with something random. The photos here are always cool, and that's good. And use this really fast, I don't know, blossoms, just to make it a little bit different. So this is really just already working, and we can test it out right now. So this example here, give me a second, my window just keeps resizing and moving places. Still loading there. So here's, you can see, as you can see, you have a little interaction there. When you put the card there, you can see the hover, the color of the photo changes, same here. Well, actually, no, there's something wrong with the way that the image is loading. So apparently I need to double check to see if I can actually make that, or if the color overlay needs to be a different thing than this, but it's fine. I can fix that. Just to give you an example here, you can also see that there's a different interaction here where the overlay on the text also creates the little drop down there. And there's still some bugs to it right now. So for some reason, we lost the animation of the arrow expanding once we used the animation of the hover on the click me. So not sure if that should have happened or not. Let me just reload. But we can probably just try to find out how we can fix this. So for example, the problem with the color overlay, what you can do is, if that needs to really work, we can make this card image highlight the frame, duplicate the image on top, and then now you have card image color, and then that one is there is card image. And what I'm going to do now is on this component here, I'm going to delete the card image highlight and use this card image highlight frame that I created. And on the top one, I'm going to put the color at 100. So now, in theory, yeah, it already works for both of them. And you can see, as you can see down there, the arrow adjusts to the size, because what we're doing, and this is also a really cool thing, is when you're in here, this thing has set to HUD content. So when you're in regular state, it just adapts to the text. And when you're here, it goes to fill container. So you can actually use auto layout controls to also make interactive component animations. What happened here is click me still has the same length, but smell the flowers doesn't. So when you go here, it just adapts to the space that you have, but it doesn't really affect the animation. It doesn't break in any way. So there are some cool things you can do with auto layout in interactive components. So around here, I was actually going to do another example like this, but I'm not sure if it really helps. There are some cool things you can do. So probably I would ask, what would you guys say that you would like to see created with a little bit more than just one interaction? I have one idea, which was a little model window with a closing button and what's not, but I'd really love to hear your thoughts on that. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay. Multiple hover interactions are a mess. That's true, especially like the ones that you have here, where you basically have a breaking point there, and then the whole thing stops working because of that. So if it has to be, it should be a little bit simpler than this. This is just pushing it to the limits. I don't think this is actually too much of a good example when it starts going with a lot of things, but just showcasing how much you can actually do with it. So yeah, let me try to create a little window with more than one button with some really quick stakes. So I'm gonna just build a few buttons. I'm not gonna worry about if they are based on a core component. Actually, I used core component here, but we're just gonna speed this up. So click me, and again, a little bit fast, just probably make them. This one is going to be white. Call it button. Actually, this needs to be inside a frame, and the frame is called button. That way I can actually do the same animation that I was trying to do before. So this one is button. And now I'm actually going to do one thing. Sorry, it's still impossible to have multiple over and clicking interactions in the same card? It shouldn't, but since this is in beta, there are some things that are still not working very well. So it works, but sometimes part of the thing needs to be really well built. In this case here, I actually don't know what I did wrong. Probably something about the way that this clicking action or whatever works. Like I really don't know. So yeah, sometimes multiple interactions or overlaid interactions can create some bugs. I know that's why interactive components is still not a feature out of beta, because Figma is trying to fix all of those things. So I'm going to create a regular button. I'm going to create again little button with a move animation. So moving it there, adding the drop shadow, making the same style as I was doing before. But actually now I also want to create other style of button. So let me do this. Let me just select this one. Probably have a yellow fill so that it works when it goes up. Give it a little bit of a thicker line and make the outline the same color as the other, which is black at this one. Actually, no, let me just change from black to our Friends of Figma color. So right now I created based on the same object, I created what I expect to be variants. So of a button, so I'm just going to create multiple components and combine as variants. Really cool thing you can do with variants and that you can take advantage of is you actually can change properties here really fast. So right now I want to create different properties like type and add new property state. And now you can actually do something really fast, which is like you select the two first and you say that this is the primary. And it's going to apply to both of them. Select both of the second one, and then it's secondary. And now the state, this would be default or normal. Let's call it like that. And then these would be other. So right now you already created a really simple variant here where you can play around with things. We're not going to use the states except for prototyping. So right now I'm just going to do the prototyping here. So change to primary over while hovering. Same thing here. This one is a little bit simpler than the one I was in before. So while hovering, secondary hover. Let's put it that it's both. You can actually select both and edit both animations at the same time. So I'm going to put both animations here really fast. Right now I got a button, but I also want something a little bit different for clicking. So I'm going to make a close animation for a little bit of an X to be there around the corner to create the model that I'm trying to build. So it's going to create this X. I'll make it a little bit thicker. Then I'm going to give it a different color here. Again, multiple components. So this close variant. And I'm going to use another thing here just for fun. When you're trying to build variants, you can also use yes, no, true, false, on, off to create toggle options. So imagine that we just want to play around with that. Right here, the state would be on and off. So let's put it just as hover. And then this one would be on, this one would be off. So when you want to use this component, you can actually just use a little toggle there. It works with on, off, true, false, yes, no. So I added this. again, prototyping. I'm gonna put it while hovering. And we already got 2 animation elements there. So this already creates some complexity to it. So our variants are built. Now let's prototype it. So I actually want to create an animation for a really simple model. So let me use desktop size. I'm gonna make the background yellow as you have here. Just call this home. Let's add a button to it. Center it there and say open model. And that's going to be our core interaction. Actually, there's something wrong with the way that I built these. Just noticing it. So give me a second. Oh, got it. My mistake. Since they aren't auto layouts, they are not scaling, but the button inside is. So just that was my problem there. But I think my mistake here. But let's use it. Let's use this as it is right now, just for testing it out, and then I can try and fix it. And I'm just gonna build a really quick model here, make a window like little on the corners. I'm gonna use auto layout again, so to make things a little bit harder, but at the same time a little bit more fun. I'm gonna turn all of this into auto layout, but I'm gonna give it a set width. So instead of being contents, I'm gonna say fixed width. It's gonna say the width is like what? 520. And then I'm going to create an auto layout around the X because I want the X to be on the right corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that this section here, it fills the container, but the alignment is to the top right corner. So the X is going to stay there. And now I'm going to add some random content. So just going to drop little title. Wait, this is actually badly built. It was horizontal. I want it to be vertical. Fixed width 520, and this one should be fill container contents. Okay, now we're talking. And this should be her content, so it goes with the content, the text. Title. Let's drop a lorem ipsum here. So you have a plugin from lorem ipsum. You just want to generate something. So generating some words, making this fill container, so it's not going to be there, bigger than that. And now let's add a couple of buttons on here. So this model actually should be a different color because we want to see that. So I'm going to make it orange. Yes. And I want to create a different button on the side, but it's not going to work because it's on that auto layout. So we need to create another auto layout, make it fill container, organizing like this, and probably create space between. The height is her contents, and this one would be a no. I know this doesn't really look perfect because I messed up the way that I built the components a little bit, but I'm going to fix it afterwards. Let me just use this as an example for now. I'm going to add a little bit of padding here on top. You can actually do that. It's simple. And there's something wrong with this. Just give me a second. Why are you not actually filling the components as the others? Fill container. There's something wrong here, but it's okay. If you want to change the type of button, you can put it secondary there. Let's just say that this is how it works. Calling this model. And now when you click on this button on the prototype, what we want is to open this. Instead of being navigate to is open overlay. Open overlay actually allows you to add stuff like background overlay color. So I can actually do that here. A little bit of a color there. When you click on the X, I want it to go back. So on click, you can actually just put close overlay and it's going to close the overlay. And then I'm going to do the same for the buttons. I want to have them load on a click, and that click would just close the overlay because we just want to test out how this works. So let's see. So basically what I did is I had 3 interactive component animations inside one simple model and did a lot of stuff there. And I also have this one here. So when you go here, you have the interaction. It's clickable. It immediately opens the model. Actually, we should, okay, let's just do something really quick. Give me a second here. Let's do an animation because I didn't have animation. I just said open overlay and put in an instance. So I'm going to say move in from bottom just to make it a little bit more smooth. There you go. And then you have interactions there on all of them. So all the over states are there. You can build entire applications with this. You can do a lot of these interactive components and build complex prototypes with just a couple of symbols. And you don't really need that giant noodle that you would have before. So now with just a couple of components, you already have a lot of stuff that you can do. And this is a little bit about how to create some complex animations. Now, actual animation. And here, I'm not sure if you guys saw on social, but I actually created this example here with Super Mario I drew a while ago. So let's put this here. And let me tell you, I love animating with Figma because I do a lot of these little things. The Super Mario here is saying hello to you. The mouth opens and closes and the eyes blink. You can make a GIF out of it. It's really simple. It's a great communication tool. I use it to do some fun stuff. And better yet, if you want to be a little bit more creative, and I'm going to try to do that with the example I'm going to do afterwards, you can actually do stuff like having keyboard shortcuts to different animations and make it a little bit more fun. So the really cool thing about interactive components is since they actually are not dependent on the same speed of transition as you would be before between 2 giant screens, you can do a lot of small animations that work independently. And this is what's happening here. So if I go back here, what I have is I have the baseline Super Mario, which is just a little symbol here. So if you come here, you can see that inside this, you have Mario with all these little pieces. But then you have 3 components here, 3 interactive components. One that animates the eyes, one that animates the mouth, and one that animates the arm. It's not exactly simple when it comes to some types of animation, but it's still way more fun to do these things like this because you can actually create a lot of really cool stuff. So for today's example, I actually brought a character from a file from Yan Liu that it's now available on the community. There's this free vector avatar library. You can actually, if you go to community right now, give me a second. There it is. It's one of the top ones. So go there and use it if you want to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring life into this character here, using the same type of skills that you would be using for buttons, for links, for whatever other interactive components you can do. So right now I already have a character that I built using the vector avatar library. There's a lot of selections here. You can use also variants to build it or whatever. I chose these elements because I already thought about some animations we could do. I gave her a little bit of color like the ones that we already have in our file here. And now we're going to try to prototype it. So first things first, what type of animations we want to do? Do we want to leave it on a cycle or do we want to add some fun animations that might not depend on that? So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to break it into some small animations that are by themselves interactions. So I'm going to copy the eyes out of this, and I'm going to make the eyes, I'm going to try and make the eyes blink with a cycle and not being dependent on the main interactive component, which is also something you can do. You can actually build interactive components inside interactive components like I was doing before. So I'm going to make this eyes components. I make another copy here, and I'm going to do something as simple as little blinking scale. Probably hide this here, make it go to 0 when this happens, because that's it. Combine as variants. And what I use to do these type of things is really simple. Well, it also helps if you define the labels here. So I usually call them animation frame. This is 1, this is 2, just to make it simpler for me. In a second, there was something wrong there. Yeah, I don't want the color to go down. I want this to be complete faster. There you go. And now I'm going to prototype them with an after delay. So you can actually use delays to create these type of animations that are really simple. Let's say that it's going to blink its eyes every 1.5 seconds, and it's going to have a smart animation with an ease out and back. So it's really simple. It just kind of goes with this, with the little motion there. It should be a little bit faster because eyes blink a little bit faster. And then from this one to this one, I'm going to put it also as an after delay, but with 1 millisecond because it's the minimum that Figma allows you to do. And that way it's going to go back almost immediately after it did that. So since I already did this, now I can create this little component here. I'm going to have it, and let me look at the character there. Okay, let me look for eyes. Eyes are there. I'm just going to align them. Let me go back here and delete the old ones. Okay, so this is number 1. Now, that's the only recurrent animation that I want here. I want to have a few other animations, including, I want to put something getting out of that little pocket there. So I'm going to make something really simple. I'm going to make a little rectangle here. Going to give it one of our brand colors, so it could be yellow. Put it behind that, hidden for now. So this would be state 1. Let's play around with the idea of making it look to the side. So let's move the hair, for example, a little bit. If the hair goes there this way, then probably the glasses and the mouth and the eyes should all go that way. And let's make the same thing, but to the opposite side. So make a copy, pick those elements, 1, 2. To the other side. Nose there. I can actually click on the nose, so I'm just going to move the mouth now. By the way, if you don't know, if you click on Command or Control and right click, you can see every layer that is under your mouth. So that's a really simple but cool trick. I'm going to get the eyes too. So we already created eyes blinking, 2 animations to make her look to the left and to the right, which is really simple, by the way. Yeah, that part can stay the same. And I want to have one last animation, which is, or 2 others. Let's make it so that there's something coming out of her pocket. So you can just select that shape that you had and make a little bit of a scale there in animation. And I don't know, let's make the bow tie spin a little bit. Let's make a joke about the bow tie giving a full turn and then going back. So it seems like it's the same, but that one now is 180 degrees, so that's it. So we already have a lot of states here that we can then animate between characters. Just going to give a little bit of a space between them. Do as I did before, so I'm going to create multiple components, and I'm going to go and do combine as variants. Now all of these are called default. We can, again, give them proper names. So I'm going to call it again animation frame. This is, sorry, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to do really cool animation here. So let's put it like this. If you wanted to look on the right, then let's put it on key gamepad. Let's put the right key there. So it's going to look to the right. It's going to do a really simple, smart animation. And then let's have a moment to go back. So after delay, let's put it like, I don't know, 800 seconds. It should go back really smooth there. Also, let me just double check the time on that animation. Let's make that animation a little bit smoother. And actually, I did something really bad, which is the bow tie should be going back on this one. It should be coming forward on this one. Sorry, my mistake. Let's put it like this. Yeah, this should be a little bit more I'm not going to say realistic because it's never going to look realistic, but it's going to be a little bit more fun. Now we can do the same thing from point here to here. So I'm going to speed up a little bit. Now, if you want to look to the left, you can use the arrow there to the left. And then again, after delay, give her 800 milliseconds, whatever. Let me just check out here. Yeah, which is a little bit more than a second. If we want something to come out of our pocket, we can make it even on click if we want, or even on drag. If we just want to play around with the concept of drag here, we could do it. Or it can even be better at this, which is not having that interaction there. So I'm going to do it this one, but having the interaction to the point where we get the actual rectangle. And if you put it here, let's see if this works. On drag, we can actually pull the card out of our pocket. And then from this one, after delay again, going back to the original state. And last but not least, let's put a on click. It's gonna animate the bow tie. So let's put this like 150, just to make it a little bit faster. And again, after delay, in this case, let's put the after delay and almost non-existent, and just do that. Let me just fix one thing. The animation for the bow tie shouldn't have an ease out. It should be linear that way. It's just gonna feel like the bow tie goes and does a full circle around. So now we built a character that it's animated, that can be used really fast. You can create a little frame just to showcase it. Put it here. Again, gonna take the background. For now, let's test out with one character, and then let's see what this does. Okay. So right now, as you can see, she's blinking every time. And if we try and make her to look to the right, look to the left, we can come here and drag the card out of her pocket. And if we click on it, the bow tie is going to rotate. And you did all of that there to the point where we can now do again the same thing as before. We can just duplicate her, have multiple instances of her here. All of them will be blinking, or should be. Actually, I actually think I need to restart because sometimes that creates some sort of bug, but right now they are all blinking. There you go. And then there's this, where key interactions work different ways. So since only one of them can take control of the key there, you can have them and play around. If you keep pushing the keys, it just goes and tries to do the animation. And you can again pull the cards on all of them. There you go. You can make that one rotate the bow tie. And that's it. So you can actually do a lot of fun stuff with interactive components. And really go at it and have fun. I'm not sure if there's still the category for interactive components here, but if you look for, let me see, interactive components in the community, there are already a lot of really cool stuff out there. Joey Lamelas, which is basically an incredible illustrator, did this really cool Fig matrix illustration that has the background that are interactive components that just animate with a little matrix symbols behind the Neo. Give me a second here. We already have a lot of different things. Louise picked up a file from another person. I remember the name that they published it this week, and they created this animation here. So as you can see, interactive components can be used really to do a lot of really cool stuff. I also have at least one file on the community that does that, which is the Talkie. This was created back when the interactive components came to be. As you can see, there are some different animations running at the same time. And I actually created some extra animations here, like you can change your character and see other animations. And all of these are interactive components. All of these use states that are really just different parts of animations. And if you look at the way that these are built, you can see that they are built as little parts that then add up to a single frame where everything is animated. Whether before, if you wanted to do this, you had to create a gazillion things. Another thing back when we built the Figma cards during config, I created this NFT-ish animation that isn't perfect, but it creates the effect of your card being rotating. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with interactive components. What I've showcased here today is just a few examples, and I hope you guys can have fun with it. Back to you, Joshua. Not sure if you want to go and...
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I've been following, and then it's been impressive. I mean, the very final one you did, that with this young this image rotating left and right, it got me. I was like, wow. So I don't know if any of us would have questions for Bruno. I'm sure we should them up in the chat section so he would take them. I mean, it's so amazing.
Just having fun with the characters right now.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, do we have questions? Asked me, sent a direct message. How the okay, there's a question. There's a question from Castillo. He says, "Could you go over
could I
the rotating
show?
board?"
Sure. Give me a second. Let me share my screen again. Window animation here. Okay, so rotating objects are fun to build, but it's not always a really perfect science. I know that I did a few other cool stuff with it, so probably I'm going to do a different example that it showcases a little bit more how that's work. Let's see. If you want to rotate, for one thing, Arc does not support interactive component animations, by the way. But okay, so let's say that you want to showcase, I don't know, this F circle rotating for some form of chart. What you need to make sure that you do is that you always make, if you want to do a full rotation, it needs to be like two states, that one is 180 and the other one is 0. Sometimes if you want them to rotate in the correct direction, it doesn't really work. So you need to work out with if it's 179 and 180. It depends on the animation that you're trying to build. So I'm going to call these both the same thing, which is, let's call it rotate. Make them components again and combine as variants and just do the animation between them. So I'm going to do these with an after delay so that they are basically just always rotating and doing this really fast. So after delay, 1 millisecond, you're going to see that these actually don't work with the after delay as I would want to, but okay. And let's put it here, which is our showcase frame. I'm going to take the ladies from the side and just going to keep that one on the back. And let's see if this is well built or not. Okay, they're both after relay, linear. Yeah, probably sometimes you need to restart your prototypes to see these working. Let's see if it's working or not. See, what's happening right now, it's always doing the same animation. It's trying to go to the same side. It's not actually rotating. It's going back and forward to the same motion. And the example of the bow tie, it basically does that. So it's not exactly perfect. But what you can do then is try to create different moments and trick the component to actually do a full rotation. So I don't want it to go to 100 to 180. I want it to go to like 179. And then I wanted to jump, or I wanted to go to 180, but then I wanted to jump to minus 179. So which is the opposite side. If I'm not mistaken, yeah. So 0, 183, minus 179, and then we wanted to go back to 0. So what you're going to do is from this point here, you're going to create basically, sorry, trying to understand what's happening. Oh, sorry, I didn't make the the same thing that I wanted. Sorry. You're gonna remove these. You're gonna make it go from that point to this one. This is the one that needs to be -179. Sorry, this is a lot of. Some of these things are really hacky and it's hard to do. But yeah, so right now we want this to, instead of being a linear animation or whatnot, you just want it to instantly change from one to the other. And now it should be rotating fully. I know that it's not perfect what you guys see there, but it's basically you're tricking it into thinking that it's doing the rotation in the one specific direction. So when you get to the 180, the 179, you need to trick it to skip to the other side, because Figma doesn't deal with 360 degrees. It deals with -180, +180. And that's the different part. Andrea Cruz, can we implement the interactive components easily in our websites or apps? Figma has inspect for the animations. So you can probably see the animation here, and you can probably copy this animation as code. So it gives you information that allows you to do that, but I'm not sure if it's exactly what you need. Let me just see one thing. So this is on CSS already. So if you click here, yeah, that's basically what it creates. So if you get the code here, you see where it changes to, and you can copy the content. It gives you animation speeds, like the delays and what's not, but that's basically it. If I change this, instead of being a delay to be a click, it's going to change here too. So on click, smart animate, curve, linear, and you can then come here and just, let's see, let me just go back, and if you click it, it's going to do. So you do have some parts of Figma that allow you to transport these into code. It might not be extremely aligned with everyone's way of working, but for definitely you can take code out of here. If you really want to just to use interactive components for some elements like animation, you can do, but if you really want to make animations that then can live on your website and what's not, I would advise you to use something like Motion, which is a plugin that allows you to do animation and export in SVG, CSS. Let me just see here, because I don't want to tell you something. Yeah, GIFs, sprites, frames, CSS, and SVG. So you can actually do timelined animation, if that ever helps. This is a little bit better for some of these things.